Welcome to another installment of Monday Q&A. I hope you've all had a fantastic week and weekend. As always, thank you to everybody who submitted a question for this week's Q&A. And if there is something you would like me to answer on the next Q&A, simply put it in the comments section below. If you're in Melbourne this weekend, Ragdoll have not one, but two shows. We're at the Northcote Social Club on Saturday and Whole Lot of Love on Sunday. I will also be at the Melbourne Guitar Show on Sunday, doing not one, but two workshops, 11:30 for a Fractal audio workshop on the Sunday, and then 12:30 for a Boss workshop. Really looking forward to all of that. It's going to be a hectic weekend. Hope to see some of you there. But for now, let's answer some questions. A very consistent type of question that I get on my channel is what I tune my main guitars to. Ragdoll plays in drop C, so you'll probably hear my black PRS SC245 or some of the other guitars on here in drop C. And someone wanted to know, what's the advantage of keeping a guitar in a specific tuning when there is technology like the Fractal Audio Virtual Capo or the Digitech Drop or the Virtual Jeff Pro out there that can let you just go up and down polyphonically with tuning digitally? And the answer is that all of those things work pretty well, but they don't sound as good as just physically tuning the guitar. Furthermore, playing a guitar that is set up in a drop tuning versus playing a guitar that's, say, set up in drop D and tuning it down to B doesn't quite feel right. So, I own enough guitars where I can justify having them in different tunings, or maybe I use the different tunings to justify lots of different guitars. But yeah, what is that? I like to think it's the latter, but really it's probably the former. So while this technology is fantastic, and I will use stuff like the virtual capo in the Axe effects if I'm playing along to different songs for something convenient, I think if I just actually want to do a bunch of music in a particular tuning, I'm going to go the extra little yard and tune the guitar. It's not that difficult. I guess if you're swapping guitars live, for one song, you want to go down a semitone, I'd use it there. I wouldn't bring an extra guitar, but for a Ragdoll gig, I'm going to tune to drop C. My thoughts on Wigwam, the band, and their guitar player Trond. Trond is amazing. Really, really, really like their playing, and I was really looking forward to playing with them. They had an Australian tour scheduled at the start of February. We were going to be supporting them in Perth. However, we're living in the time of COVID, so my understanding is some of the band members got sick right before they were about to fly, and they've had to reschedule that tour. Hopefully that happens before too long, because if you like your 80s rock and you like all the stuff that I kind of play on this channel, but you want it with a slightly more authentic whiff about it, they're a fantastic band to check out. There's so many of those bands in Europe, it seems, that really, I think, get the recipe right. They are cheesy enough, and they kind of capture the original, like, all-in rock and roll spirit of the 80s, but the production sounds a lot more modern and punchier, and they can just kind of play amazing all across the board. So maybe that's my listening recommendation for this week. Go and check out some Wigwam. Am I going to try the new Tonex pedal or the Tonex software? Yes, it is coming. I'm in no rush to do it though. I've got the Tonex software on my computer, and the pedal is also going to happen. Massive thank you to one of my longtime subscribers and supporter of the channel, Kevin, who has volunteered to send me their units. So IK were not in touch with me about this. I saw a lot of other people do demos with the Tonex, and it seems to be pretty cool. I'm pretty stoked to try it hands-on and try capture some of my amps, see how they compare to something like, say, the Quad Cortex, and generally just kind of deep dive into the process. So if there's anything anybody is specifically curious about, let me know in the comment section below, and I will try and work that into my review when it comes. My thoughts on Sterling by Music Man guitars. I've only played a few of these. A few of my students have various Sterling models. Overall, pretty decent. One of them, which is a 7-string, has actually had a bunch of issues with it that one of my students has kind of been going back and forth with the manufacturer on. They've eventually just had to replace the neck on the guitar, which they were happy to do. I get that that kind of happens, but there are a few little issues with the frets and the overall kind of truss rod on that particular guitar, which was a little bit disappointing because it sounds fantastic. I haven't tried that many of them. I can't really speak for the overall QC. You know, quality control is something that exists across a batch of instruments, not just on a single instrument. So I'm always kind of hesitant to say, oh, well, this is no good because I played one instrument that was no good, or this is amazing because I played one instrument that was amazing. But they've got some really cool designs, they've got some really cool models, and most importantly, they're making those designs accessible for a lot of people. So if anybody watching this has a Sterling by Music Man guitar, let me know how you like it in the comment section below, and let me know what you've got. Maybe I can review one at some point. How would I go about simulating the let's say infamous BBE Sonic Maximizer on the Axe-Fx? My good friend Ryan at Plagueside Studios did a BBE deep dive not too long ago. Go and check out their channel because I seem to remember Ryan having some settings on there if you wanted to emulate the BBE thing. Great video, fantastic channel. And I don't want to say, well, you can definitely do it, just put these values in. I'm fairly certain they mentioned some things you can do with EQ in there. And then there's kind of the discussion between like EQ and phase. I don't want to get into it here, but go and check out Ryan's channel. Fantastic stuff. Do I like my strats decked, blocked, or floating? I generally don't use the trem on a strat. So I tend to deck mine because I can never really be bothered going all the way in and totally blocking them up. One thing that I will do is get some foam and put it underneath the springs so that they can't vibrate sympathetically. And other than that, yeah, I just kind of play it. You know, strats are a glorious thing. You've definitely seen a bunch of strats on my channel recently, my old 1977, the Fender Buddy Guy here. I've got an Ingves strat and a few strats that were home built here. And I do want to do a kind of strat shootout and talk about things that I like on strats and some things that maybe I don't like, because I have some pretty fun guitars here. This one comes from friend of the channel and patron Rutger. Can I do a Brian May lesson at some point, and not just the tone, talk about some of the stylistic things Brian does, especially their melodic lead playing? Brian May is, for me, someone I always enjoy listening to, and I probably don't make enough time to listen to. They are inarguably one of the most unique voices on the electric guitar of all time, from their homemade guitar to the way they would use the guitar to kind of simulate orchestral instruments and all sorts of other stuff. And, you know, Brian had big chops as well and could rock out with the best of them. So maybe I'm gonna have to kind of brush up on my Brian May chops and some Queen tunes and do that video at some point. Let me know specifically what you'd like to hear. I've been mentioning for quite a few years now that I want to demo a Marshall JVM. I think I've got a lead on it. A viewer recently mentioned that they have both the original JVM and the Joe Satriani version. And because we live in such a small world, I think they live about 5 or 10 minutes from me. So once I am back from the Eastern States, hopefully I can sink my teeth into either or both of those amps. Let me know what you'd like me to hear on a JVM demo, if you want me to do some comparisons and stuff like that, because I'm pretty stoked to finally check one out. And finally, to ride out today's Q&A, why aren't Fender making 24 fret guitars as standard? And how do I kind of feel about the heel on a Fender guitar? You know, the standard blocky Strat heel, I'll answer this part of it first. It's fine. It's definitely more accessible than, say, a Telecaster or a Les Paul. The thing for me with Strats that sometimes drives me crazy isn't really that upper fret access on there or the blocky heel, but it's when the radius is so low or the frets aren't set up where you can't really bend more than a tone before you fret out on there. So that's what kind of annoys me about some Strats when you play up the dusty end. Again, maybe people just simply don't play up there, but any kind of super Strat or even a Fender with a modern kind of curved heel definitely feels more comfortable. It is the kind of thing that I think I can live with. As for the 24 fret thing, you know, I thought about this and I remembered that the Fender kind of general brands umbrella now contains brands like Jackson and Charvel, and they were the, you know, original super Strats that went, hey, let's put more frets and Floyd Roses and humbuckers and make that stuff standard. So it's funny that now Fender has cannibalized those brands. And to me, I guess if you want a Strat with super Strat specs, you go and get a modern Charvel or something like that. And the kind of modern Charvel San Dimas guitars, I've got a few friends with them, Pretty impressive. I kind of really want to grab one because for the money, they've got most of the specs that I would want in a super strat style guitar. They even do hardtail versions, so I wouldn't have to go in there and deck the trem or anything like that. And I know a bunch of people who are on my Discord also have them. So again, let me know what you do and don't like about strats or shavels or your favorite strat alternative in the comment section below. If you've got questions for the next Q&A, which probably won't be next Monday because I'm going to be away. It will probably be in 2 weeks. Let me know in the comments section below. Have a great week. I hope to see some of you on the weekend, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.